Hello, hello, hello. And we are live. We live. Beautiful, most beautiful. Welcome all to another PGR stream where I can finally continue the story. It's been well, it certainly has been a while since I last did this stream, but it's gonna change. Because I want to stream the entire story, which means I'm gonna be here for quite a while. I'm just sending it out, making sure the whole world can see. Now. Now. Now we get into good stuff. Project Winter. Where are we going off last time? The problem with his voices is I don't always remember what kind of voices I gave everyone. So I tend to go with a voice that's what I feel like appropriate for the moment, even though it's not always appropriate. This is an impromptu internal meeting. Everybody, please keep all the information mentioned in this meeting confidential. After disaster broke out at the Puglia Forest Park ruins, the council members have already participated in countless impromptu meetings. An impromptu meeting used to mean an emergency, now it also means a difficult dilemma to overcome. As everyone knows, the situation on Earth is taking a turn for the worst. High punishing concentration has caused varying degrees of evolution in hetero creatures across the different regions. They have learned to attack in groups. If they are injured, they quickly retreat and regroup in the red tide. Those winged hetero creatures have increased their flight speed and altitude, allowing them to attack transport crafts. However, our forces stand on the surface and have been unable to stop twins from advancing. For now, they can only withdraw. The CPF has been destroyed, the greenhouse collapsed, the blood of the dead has turned into the red tide, breeding new enemies. We have made great sacrifices to resolve this disaster with little to show for it. If this continues, everything that has been restored on the surface will be in vain. We need something that can turn the tide in our fight against the punishing virus. Preliminary research on the Omega Vial Zod obtained from Atlantis is beginning to show progress. The Omega prototype produced by the Science Council has been proved to be capable of absorbing the punishing virus. However, it is unable to change the overall environment at its current stage. I propose that we focus all of Babylonia's resources and research into this program. Upon announcing the topic of this meeting, Hansen opens the floor for discussion, but no one in the dark room voices their opinion. We need to put aside our differences and focus our efforts on solving this crisis immediately. This guy's definitely a nerd. Is this really a wise use of our resources? Babylonia can be completely self-sufficient as long as we control our consumptions and cut supplies for troops on the surface. That may be the case, but is it sustainable? Our current crisis isn't just the high punishing concentration on the surface, but also the sectors infiltrating the Gestalt and the hetero creatures obtain air superiority. Not to mention the emergence of the twins. What makes you think they won't continue to evolve? We should at least come up with a concrete method for solving this crisis before we discuss putting all our eggs in one basket. Oh, I'm alright. I think I'm alright. Well, the stream seems to be having better latency than what I've experienced in the past. However, this method requires assistance from Project Winter to achieve the maximum effect. Uttering these two words causes whispers to echo throughout the dimly lit council. According to my knowledge, the Science Council has also been dabbed in Project Winter. However, those conservators have only been committed to enhancing the stability of specialized frames. They haven't expended their efforts into controlling the punishing virus. Controlling the punishing virus? The councilman looks at President Hudson sitting silently in front of him. I'm sure you're aware that based on the current progress of Project Winter, the specialized frames design of the latest data have serious safety effects. They are similar to an ascendant's frame by actively gathering the punishing virus within the frame and the user's mind. However, since the user isn't an ascendant, they can't resist the punishing virus, nor can they control the frame. Anyone who switched to the new specialized frame was unable to persist in their actual combat. They couldn't even last 20 minutes on the surface before succumbing to a corruption. If we can somehow delay corruption, there will be a serious damage to their mind. Commanders sacrifice their lives to stabilize their minds as a result of mind beacon pollution. Some of the councilmen who have already receded into the show show no intent on hiding their position. As a result, he takes the initiative to express their position and voice their concerns. Even if the punishing virus cannot be controlled for now, we can resolve issues with corruption by using the Omega prototype. As for the mind corruption, I'll leave that to the CTO. During the battle with Alpha and Hu Shao assumed direct control over Commander of Squad of Grey Raven, forcibly, connecting the commandant with nearby corrupted. I don't need to reiterate the effects of most commandants when they link with corrupted, but the systems of Zod weren't as serious. The three other constructs of Grey Raven were able to maintain a secure link with Zod despite the corruption. Lucia, Liv, Lee, and Chrome, who was upgraded to his specialized frame, they all achieved a level of mind stability capable of handling specialized frames. However, due to the instability of this new specialized frame, constructs that have already been affected by this specialized frame are not fit for this dangerous mission. So, that just leaves Lee and Liv. Sword has declined to participate in Project Winter. That depends on the content of the project. Sword and Grey Raven defeated the Polar Phage and retrieved the vials from Atlantis, who've garnered such attention should be used as test subjects. Hilda deliberately mentions the word heroes to remind those hiding in the shadows that even if Earth is fraught with disaster, they can't continue to operate in secret. The Control Court will supervise this collaboration to ensure the personal safety of Ford, who will not participate in any research other than which pertains to linking with the new specialized frames. Grey Raven is still performing missions on the surface, while Zod's in a coma. Based on the current situation, transport crafts are unable to safely reach the surface, let alone escort Grey Raven back to Babylonia. This is what we will discuss next. There is an underground base that belongs to Corona in City 047, where a large number of resources, transport crafts, and spaceships are stored. If permissible, we can retrieve Zod and 2 other constructs from Grey Raven. Whispers begin circulating among the Parliament. Have you tested the Omega prototype yet? We've successfully run the simulations, but we haven't deployed it on the surface yet. If we can obtain test results showing its effectiveness against the twins, both sides will be in more equal standing. Correct. However, we must take it one step at a time. Given the sacrifice required for a round-trip journey to the surface, they cannot be expected to pay with their lives for a test that doesn't yet yield results. Once they return to Babylonia, what will you do if Zod doesn't begin to improve? We will wait until Zod shows signs of improvement before proceeding. If the commander doesn't regain consciousness, we will think of another plan. If there's any hope of averting disaster, we'll change our plans accordingly. The council looks at Hilda, but she remains silent and acquiesces to the other result implied by Nicola's phrasing. This desolate world no longer leaves any room for tenderness. Just make sure everything's running smoothly. We are going to wait until Zod shows signs to improve before conducting the experiment. The situation on Earth is taking turns for the worse. President Hansen reiterates his opening statement. If you want to leave researchers time to start their work, the situation demands an immediate course of action. Even if we manage to mitigate corruption without the mind maker that can withstand pollution, specialized frames will be difficult to maintain. Correct. Current data predicts that if we cannot resolve issues with mind disability, the subject will die within 3 hours of participating in actual combat. Hearing such a minuscule amount of time, everyone's whispers turn out to an outcry. However, a council member hiding the shadows gives a pleasant look of surprise. Can't believe they lasted 3 hours without a command to maintain stability. Is that it? What do you mean, is that it? Last time, when we used the specialized frame developed with the new data, could even pass the corruption test. Even though they had acquired data from Glory, they implemented numerous barriers and restrictions. But without a commander that can resist pollution from mind beacons or someone able to maintain mind stability like Chrome, it was just a useless shell. Even for someone to last 1 minute as a human bomb proved to be a disaster. This is just the first deployment, yet they already managed to last 3 hours in the simulation. Imagine what we can achieve with such a project in the future with the combined effort of all departments. I can't wait to see her smile at the results. The underground base in 047 is a major asset, is a lot of property, but the higher ups shouldn't refuse such a rare invitation from the Parliament. Even now, they won't put down their hypocritical masks. What's wrong with making sacrifices for the sake of science? But only 3 hours? Isn't this experiment a little inhumane? Do you think you know what inhumane even means? Have you finished cleaning up the aftermath of all those deaths? Or are you being sarcastic? The sensuous Scotsman retorts sarcastically, unable to remain silent any longer. I will arrange for remuneration donations. Being concerned with personal sacrifices would be an insult to everyone who is still struggling, as well as the soldiers and civilians who died in the disaster. Is there a specific plan to integrate the Omega prototype with specialized frames? Yes, but it is currently top secret. Then how can you verify the efficiency of such a plan? Each party must first investigate its conditions before verification can be made by both parties. Can the Science Council guarantee results from this collaborative effort? This is just our preliminary course of action. I still haven't received the agent data, and we still need to conduct more tests before making any conclusions. If we want to improve our current predicament, we have only one choice: cooperation. In any case, this is the beginning of hope. But it's only just the beginning. Meanwhile, it's an unchanging, lifeless afternoon. The continuous drizzle pounds the ground. The damp air flows into the dirt, increasing the cold by bit by bit. Someone with a guitar sits among the several like-minded musicians, strumming weakly. Someone takes out a pair of cards that were almost crumped and sickly tosses them in front of their comrade's bed. Someone ravages through their pants pockets, searching desperately for a bit of wheat lost between the stitches. Someone knows they are dying of terminal disease, yet have given their rations away to others for the past several days. Someone lies down in a damp corner, weeping for the relatives they just buried. I almost ignore the passing time, the dim light outside, and the continuous rain. They look at the old molten ceiling. Their eyes had lost their light, leaving only an empty silence. But despair will not stop growing in those who will raise their hands and surrender. Liv routinely checks the condition of all the wounded and unconsciously rubs her aching chest. With the lack of maintenance chambers, she hasn't rested for many days. During a search and rescue mission, Liv's leg was seriously injured while protecting her target. However, in order to leave medical supplies for refugees to come, she only split her broken leg and refrains from fully repairing it. She is by no means an exception. Most people and constructs alike are forced to stand on a sinking island. No one can be spared. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, there is a sharp knocking on the door outside the isolation door. The sound is light as a feather through the hardened steel. Someone's at the door? She quickly closes her eyes and searches for activity signal outside the door. A human. Liv wonders who would wander through the dangerous wilderness full of hedge critters but decides to open the heavy air isolation door. Oh no. This is gonna cause issues. Hello. A man and woman rush to the gap in the isolation door. The woman's long hair and clothes are well kept as they've been carefully cleaned recently. The other man beside her, holding a child covered in blood, seems a little familiar. Is there a doctor here? This boy's been stabbed in the back. I am. Give him to me. Thank God. Where should I set him? Over there. He hurries past the crowd and runs in the direction Liv pointed to. There aren't any beds left. It's the only spot here on the ground. Looking around the crowd of people, he asks Liv as she lips him from behind. Unfortunately, but the extra sheets. I have my own fold-up cot. Stanley gets up from the folding bed with mattress and frowns as he looks at the child in the man's arms. Use mine. Thank you. He nods and thanks and gently sits the child down on the folding bed. Stanley turns and leans against the corner with a gloomy expression as lost in thought. Does he have any allergies or medical issues prior to this wound? I don't know, do you? I don't know either. It's fine. I'll give it an evaluation before I give him an injection. Liv opens his shirt and inspects the wound on his back. Thank you. I need to stop the bleeding. How was he wounded? A hedgehog creature did it, but I'm not sure how. I wasn't with him at the time. Alright, looks like we need a serum. What has he eaten the past few days? I don't know. He said that he hadn't found any food the past few days and was starving last night, so he wanted a pack of my biscuits. Sen looks at the man's backpack, which is obviously full of supplies. After eating it, he said he wanted to go to the next conversation area and look for supplies, then borrowed one of my protective suits and left. Seeing Liv treat the child, they finally sigh in relief and find a place to rest. Why? Why would you let him go alone? Your backpack is obviously full of supplies. Would you let your child risk his life? The man is caught off guard by the sudden question. He turns and looks closely at the boy standing in front of him, then frowns as if remembering something. What's a kid like you? Sorry, it's because of me. I'm pregnant and sprained my ankle. I can't walk that fast. The child said he wanted to go with the others, so he left early. I didn't think he would. She sighs, looks at the child on the fold-up cot. Without any anesthesia, he cries in pain while Liv stitches his wound. Liv remains unwavering as she concentrates on suturing the wound more quickly to end the boy's suffering. As the boy cries, Stanley slides against the wall and sits down, sensing his emotions. Matches buries his head in his arms. Oof. That's a bit hypocritical there, since he's looking after a doll which is essentially his child. Then why get pregnant? Stanley's voice is quiet but full of resentment, contrary to his usual modesty. What do you say? Since you obviously can't raise him, why have another child? He grits his teeth and yells at the boy, continues to cry. The woman wasn't expecting to be asked this question by such a young boy. Just as she opens her mouth to respond, she suddenly stops herself. He's lucky you found and brought him to such a kind doctor. But what in the future? He's going to be just like me, or worse. Why do you say that? Why? Because my parents were just like you. They had me without thinking about the future. As soon as they couldn't raise me, they just kicked me out to the side of the road. Without thinking about the future? Exactly. You have a child on the way. You know what I'm talking about. Refugees in colonization areas give preferential treatment to expecting parents and those with children. She lowers her hand and not denying the boy's accusations. I know they have good intentions, but some people like to take advantage of this, just like my parents. They just use these good intentions for their own benefit when considering the future. After my mum was pregnant, they were given special admission to the colonization area. When they had me and my brother, when I was 2 years old, my dad gave me to another family for a bowl of porridge. My adopted father turned on me just like him too. He was just freeloading on the sympathy of others, and he used me to get supplies from the colonization area. No matter which parents I was with, they would only ever give me scraps. Once I got a little bigger, I lost this privilege. They threw me to the roadside, just like those empty cans they just finished eating. How could they do such a thing? Hearing Stanley speak, the surrounding refugees begin to whisper to each other. I've heard of people doing that. Concentration areas just want children to survive, but who would have thought there would be bastards like them? How are they bastards without them? Who dare to have children in a world like this? They don't look into who the child belongs to. They just give out supplies. Or could they? Can you guarantee you will be alive tomorrow? If someone's alive to take care of a child, that's all that matters. But have you ever thought about it? How can you abandon children to survive on the side of the road? being a burden on others, banished from the conversation areas and cursed at. So, I want to ask you, as a parent, why would you have a child if you can't take care of them? Are you just looking for short-term benefits, or is it because you don't care about your children's future? She hangs her head in silence, unable to come up with an answer. Silence fills the depressing air until the familiar man coughs quietly. Sorry, this isn't an answer, but I'm not the child's father. And of course, she isn't his mother. Her husband and I used to be merchants. Our profession is much more dangerous now, but some are still willing to take the risk. Half the suppliers belong to her husband, and I can't go eating someone else's food now, can I? Sally's eyes widen at the expected answer. Sorry, I didn't realize. I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have misjudged you and spoken out to it. It's okay. It really is a serious issue. We aren't his parents, but I heard him say that he had a similar experience as your own. His biological parents died in an accident 2 years ago when he was only 8 years old. None of us could be sure that he will live to see tomorrow in this cruel world, yet alone stay together with our children. Of course, we can't guarantee a safe upbringing for our children. Okay. She slowly walks up and sits down next to Stanley. Then gently pats him on the back with one hand and rubs Smash's fluffy head with the other. It's so hard for children to even just stay alive when they're separated from their parents at such a young age. I hope that you said carefully and be sure to make the right decisions. Okay. Enough of this crap. Isn't it obvious? If you have a child, you should raise them. Everyone is faced with hardship in this cruel world. We're all equal here, no point in complaining. Sorry. No need to apologize. The world is full of injustice. She looks at everyone and slowly closes her eyes. We're all struggling with the same adversities, but some people are harmed and some people can move freely. Others carry lives, yet to be born, and others are forced to run before they can walk. It's amazing if you can survive in this world and save another life. Alright, it's my fault. I just want to see everyone looking down in the dumps. It's hard enough to have a newborn life, only to get kicked back. He turns his back to the refugee woman, standing with a little indignation. You shouldn't have downtrodden others just because you've been down on your luck. Just like how one shouldn't suppress their sadness. The hopes that still exist in the crowd should never be taken away. Among which side of the debate, each has its own reasons. But Stanley, I know you're worried about. Liv sews up the crying child's wound and wraps him in a blanket and stands up with her hand on the edge of the cot. The arrival of new life should be a joyful thing. But we don't want to give each other a burden beyond our means. You're right. Even still, this difficulty can also be rewarding. By that, I just mean getting supplies using the kindness of others, but hope and dependence. Liv looks down at Matches next to Sammy and smiles quietly. Did you choose to take care of Matches because you think he will help you get supplies? No. But by doing so, your life has become more difficult and has made your food even more scarce. But as you said, it gives your life meaning and motivation. That's why you made the choice, right? Yeah. He nods and looks at the woman beside him apologetically. Well, how do you view this child? She lowers her head in silent contemplation. You sure still have the baby. We're barely making it through each day and we don't have enough to eat, but it's also sad to see someone die. There are only a few living people left in this land. What good are more supplies? This world wouldn't be so lonely with more lives around. Yeah, that's what I mean. Hearing this, he immediately turns around excited and claps his hands. Whether it's a person or a dog, you need to protect them as their mum. You can't be so quick to give up. Ah, there we go, running my mouth again. He gently pats himself on the face in apology. Stanley and the woman in the crowd laugh at this motherly instinct kicking in. Sorry, I never been too good at talking about this. He rubs his hands with a kind smile, and the dust from his hands causes him to sneeze a couple of times. Well, since you're already here, how about changing the subject? What's your name? Where did you come from? How's the situation outside? Every new refugee always gets asked, where did you come from? What's the situation outside? And so much so, they've become the standard greeting. If they don't answer at first, they all be asked in private. My name is Fantina. I came from City 045 in the south. I was originally going to go to 044 as a conservation area, but then there was a problem with the CPF. What's wrong with 045 and 044? The conservation area in 045 is full and someone's things wrong with 044 CPF, which I was stopped by a construct on my way there. He said that a horde of hedgehog creatures attacked the conservation area and the CPF, so they are evacuating the residents. 044, that's where Lucy and Lily are. Hearing this, the refugees begin to whisper amongst each other. I thought it would be safest to the south. Looks like it's just all the same suffering. They may not be those twins, but they're just as many hedgehog creatures. I guess it's not here anymore. We need to evacuate ASAP. Evacuate? Where else there to go? Are there any places out there? What else should we do? If Babylonia doesn't send any more support, what about the Forsaken? Forsaken? Actually, this gentleman came from the Forsaken. Oh, you know the Forsaken? How's the situation over there? I don't know them too well, but I've done business with them as a merchant. They're still sheltering refugees, but every base is already overcrowded. Looks like we need to think about evacuating. They're still in a better position than most conservation areas. At least they have food reserves. But given this environment, they're in desperate need of serum. I came here to see if I could find any spare serum in the conservations to exchange with them. Exchange? You mentioned her husband, as I mentioned. What about him? He fell into the red tide while protecting me. Last I heard his voice, he was already... I know he's not alive anymore, but heterosapien sounded just like him. And this gentleman... If this gentleman hadn't come here to pick up goods, I would have been torn to pieces by those heterosapiens. Sounds like you had your fair share of experience with those monsters. The old lady nods in recognition. What's your name, young man? Of course his name is Shrek. Shrek? Hearing this name, they finally realize why the man seems so familiar. Because he's from the memory. From the book. Oh, here's the black. Here is the, I can't even think of the word. Here comes... Black Flash? Memory Flash? Wow, I can't even remember words. The first time she heard this name was before the encounter of the Polyphage. The Grey Raven had received a new mission that required them to search the coordinates left by Hu Shao in the deserted ruins. She had accidentally stumbled across the book while searching for clues. Cardman Rider Genesis. She carefully opened the faded cover, and after reading the whole story, she found a line of beautifully written messages written on the back cover. Earth has been stricken with innumerable disasters, and time has rushed every one of them away. Live for tomorrow, because all will pass. To Shrek. There weren't any clues in the book, but Grey Raven had constantly seen this message written on the wall of the ruins. It looks like something's written on the wall. Following where Liv is pointing, you'll find a neatly written slogan on the wall of an abandoned building. Earth has been stricken with innumerable disasters. Time has washed every one of them away. Live for tomorrow, because all will pass. How very inspiring. Looks kind of new as well. Could one of the scavengers have written this? Easily written, of course, can be seen below this slogan. There seems to be something else after those two words, but they seem to be roughly scrubbed off. Later, they finally saw the message following the words, of course, and also their last memories. There has never been an endless winter on this planet, but when spring comes and the ice melts away, I will be there to see it with me. Shrek, you will live. Let me explore the unknown. Although she learned to pilot Shrek's past through the spear of FOS, she knew it wouldn't be appropriate to bring it up at this time. Therefore, Liv desires to remain quiet. You're trading for serum? What about her husband? What's he trading supplies for? I said the serum. He was originally tasked with exchanging supplies, but since he hadn't returned in a long time, I went to look for him. Oh, but we are running low on serums ourselves. Do you have 4 vials to trade for these supplies? I can only trade 3, just in case. We have a new wounded refugees. It's okay, I understand. He rubs his rain-soaked hair. After I left for Forsaken, every conservation area on my way here had run out of food and syrup. Some even tried to rob me. Seems like you guys are in a lot better shape. The outside is overrun with petrified creatures. Mind if I rest here? If the doctor doesn't mind, we don't either. If you don't mind the lack of space, of course not. Thank you. He yawns carelessly, leans against the corner and closes his eye. All these people gather together, but no one knows what will happen tomorrow. What would the commander think after regaining consciousness? I wish you were by his side, Commandant. Here we go. Joy and sorrow. Nightfall descends upon Earth once more. Liv steps out of the room where the 2 commandants are resting and looks at the landscape outside the basement. What can I do to make Flod regain consciousness? Dim moonlight covers the scarred earth in a while of peace, obscuring the mountains of death for those who are still wandering out in the wilderness. If time wasn't a measure of how long the explorers had left, it would be important for those hiding in the enclosed basement of the conservation area. Here, the reference for measuring minutes and seconds is no longer a clock, but a sense of hunger. When most people go to sleep according to their biological clock, the constructs protecting the conservation area of 043 still haven't begun to rest. They are either guarding the conservation area outside or still on rescue missions, and Liv is no exception. Today, the new rescue team brought several injured refugees. Although they should have been happy to find new survivors, the increasingly scarce supplies make it impossible for them to celebrate. She wants to do something. There's nothing she can do. She wants to speak with others, but her listeners have gone their separate ways. Before her regret can condense into a needle stabbing into her chest, she carefully weaves it into her diary. Intensive care patient record. Lindsay, 21 years old. Fell from height. Open fracture, skin damage, open wound, in skin exposing broken bone. Pneumothorax, ruptured spleen, ruptured liver, septic shock, medical history nil. CPR performed, return of spontaneous circulation, in urgent need of AB blood, splenectomy and liver repair. However, such complicated surgeries can be avoided in the current environment. ICPR, is there really nothing we can do? When Miss Lindsay was brought in, she was in critical condition. Heard she fell from a high-rise building trying to protect her partner. Thanks to her, Miss Jin only had minor injuries on her left hand and ankle, but her blood type is did not match Miss Lindsay's, and it could not be used for transfusion. All she could do was pray by her side. As a medic myself, I know she don't believe in illusionary concepts like destiny or God. I still wait for a miracle. Miss Lindsay was rescued at noon, but she was seriously wounded. It seemed unreasonable to try to save a seriously injured parent with such a lack of materials, as it would only prolong her pain and would not change the outcome. I saw Miss Lindsay's desire and struggle in her eyes. Whenever she slightly regained consciousness, she would be looking for a partner. Whenever she found her, she would open her trembling mouth to say something. She must have said something she wants to say. That's why she worked so hard to do so. So I did my best to give her first aid. Her chances were slim. I still hoped that a miracle could happen. After recording Lindsay's treatment, she quietly stares at her diary for a long time as she tries to find any potential opportunity from the limited content to make a better effort to save her life or reduce her pain. However, all the possible opportunities for recovery are like stones sinking into a deep pool, leaving ripples of regret. At the surface, she is unable to shake the difficulty of such a feat. But this doesn't cause Liv to give up hope. She continues to search, contemplating her experiences over the past few days and searching between the lines to find something that she can do. Mr. Lister. I don't know about Mr. Lister. He was transferred from 042 yesterday. I know that he hates sweet flavored cookies and that he wakes up at 2 to 4 a.m. in the morning and cries. When we evacuate CPF 040, we believed that we were still time to rescue others. So many teams were with us. There was a chance for the situation to get better. There was hope. But as time went on, more and more lives were lost, like remnant memories of the past. The seeds of hunger and sickness began to sprout within the survivors. Our prolonged future no longer brought joy. Instead, it was rather turned to a hotbed for incurating suffering and torture. Lastly, 21 years old, left leg fractured, fell from height, hemovermiphorax, medium punishing infection, multiple alterations in lower extremities, still conscious, medical history, infection, induced cardiac tamponade. Emergency treatment has been performed, but a surgery cannot be performed due to lack of equipment. Keep draining and checking for infection, suffering from severe intolerable chest pain. We're running low on painkillers. Miss Lazia loves her bunny blush. It was left behind by her late sister. Talking about it can reduce her pain slightly. Hope she gets well soon, and I hope Cameron can wake up soon. Carly, 79 years old, stage 4 gastric cardiac cancer, esophageal cancer, severe anemia, light punishing infection, medical history, NA, soybean allergy. If there's only something I can do. I told the old man his conditions as he asked. After learning the news, he has not eaten anything for 3 days. He has had nothing but water since then. Did I really do the right thing? Kanata, 47 years old. Mind age. Attacked in the middle of a rescue mission. Inverter device damaged. Multiple broken bones throughout the body. Large area of artificial skin burnt. The current supplies available aren't able to fix Mr. Kanata's broken bones. He must turn off the pain module to enter hibernation to avoid mind deviation. However, he has to vacate the sleeping pod for someone else. He needs to reactivate the pain module temporarily. He doesn't show it on his face, but I know the pain must be excruciating. Mr. Kanata looked furious when Lucia brought him back. He kept saying that he should die in battle instead of becoming a burden. But Lucia told him, being injured isn't a burden, giving up is. He stopped arguing after hearing that. Cameron would probably say the same. I only hope Cameron can wake up soon. Nagayuki, 17 years old, mine age, attacked in the middle of a rescue mission. The device damaged, left side limbs completely destroyed, unstable mind. Her mind instability needs Vanessa's help. All infection symptoms have disappeared, but her available supplies cannot repair her invalid device, often shows of mind instability due to damaged life-side limbs. Miss Nagayuki lost all of her teammates in the rescue mission. Apart from the damage in the frame, her mind was also seriously damaged. Hope there is something I can do for her. She likes music. There are a few musicians among the refugees, and as long as you calm her down a little. Unfortunately, they cannot help but are scarred by her wounds. I can only put her in the room next to the musicians for now. Arcana, 12 years old. Arcane, severe punishing infection, multiple traumatic wounds on the back, medical history, bipolar disorder. Apart from her injuries, Arcane's extreme mood swings are also the main reason why I put her under the intensive care. There are no medicines that can treat her disorder within the conservation area, and you also hold a lot of prejudice against her attitudes. She must stay away from hostile voices, but there is not enough space for her to stay alone in the basement. I'm currently putting her next to Miss Nagayuki. They are getting well so far, but I must watch them carefully. She likes Lucia's bunny. Sometimes she even takes it away without telling Lucia. Then suddenly unleashes her rage on it. I promised that I would make her an identical bunny once I get the required materials. Jane, 51 years old, hit on the head while protecting supplies and her children. Traumatic brain injury, currently in a coma. Medical history, her children are unable to provide further information. Her symptoms are similar to those of comedians, both suffering from bleeding and coma caused by traumatic injuries. Likewise, she is also unable to wake up. Lee found 3 lifeless bodies during his search. Next to the bodies, he also found some supplies that seems to belong to Miss Jane and her children. There weren't a lot of supplies, but Lee handed the supplies to her children anyway. Weapons cannot bring privilege to anyone in this cruel world. We must unite. Borch, 19 years old. Both legs amputated due to hedgehog creature attack. Multiple stab wounds in the back. Severe punishing infection. The stumps are ulcerated, unable to heal. Anemia. Penicillin allergy. The lack of painkillers makes him suffer from enormous pain from ulcerations and sterilization. Thanks to the serum, his infection seems to be healing. Mr. Bosch is a very optimistic person. He would have forced himself to laugh even when the pain became intolerable. His friends are all very proud of him, but he passed away. The wounds on his back caused tetanus. His friends buried him on the hill behind the conservation area. I'm sorry. If only I could pay a little more attention. If we only had more supplies. But there are no ifs. I'm sorry. Orphe, 45 years old. Multiple tears in the chest and abdomen caused by hedgehog creature attacks. Severe punishing infection and abdominal ulcerations. Prolonged malnutrition, anemia. Medical history, dysfunctional uterine bleeding. She's already in a hemorrhagic shock before the surgery. Thanks to the blood donors, we were able to save her from death. However, her wounds weren't healing well and require intensive care. Miss Orphan is a nurse in Serial 43's conservation area. She has been through many rescue missions. Despite her injuries, she confronted me as I changed her dressings. She told me not to lose my courage, even after witnessing many deaths, and that I should not be disappointed in myself even after I failed to save someone. We must let go of our remorse and embrace the future, so we won't have new regrets. I never confided in her, but she read me like an open book. Miss Orphan passed away. She saved many people in 043's conservation area. They voluntarily hosted her funeral. She smiled and said thank you to them on her dying bed before closing her eyes. On the night prior to the blast from the long disaster, the staff and residents of 043's conservation planned to evacuate south to 044. During the evacuation, the team was attacked by hedgehog creatures and had to return to stay with Grey Raven, which had arrived later. However, everyone who stays in 043's conservation area owns their thanks to the residents. Without them, there would be no secure shelter, and Liv would have been able to remove the commander's hematopia. But she still wouldn't have been able to save Orphe's life. Even if you hold the precious water of life in your palm, without a container you can only watch as it drips from your grasp until it dries up. Deeper that sorrow craves into your being, the more joy you can obtain. Together they come. One sits alone with you at the board. Remember, the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and joy, and only when you are empty you are standing still, balanced. She has seen those who look down on life and death, as well as their calm expressions of indifference. But Liv cannot do it. She chooses the more cumbersome path. During the countless sleepless nights, she has let silent tears burn her wounds and pain, giving her motivation to work hard to build a better tomorrow. If it really happens so that together they come, it will be motivation to tip the scales and achieve happiness. Constructs have a stronger ability to fight and survive than humans. However, they cannot survive this forsaken catastrophe alone. The punching virus, the casualties of war, insufficient maintenance treatments and power, unrepairable frames. Aside from these obvious dilemmas, the hearts of constructs will never waver just from a change of frames. Despite not having wounds, Lucia tightly clenches her blade among the crowd. Even Lee, a construct with few words, has become even more reticent. Aside from discussing rescues and missions, remain silent for most of the day. With the birth of the twins and the impact of the heterohive mother, Grey Raven has been able to move about freely. Without the commander, the 3 people here would be among the list of names engraved on the monument. But when Vanessa learned about the commander's actions, she only sneered at it. Regardless how much you contribute while you're alive, you're worthless when you're dead. Saying this, her eyes revealed some indescribable haze, like that of anger or sadness. Despite the differences, she knows he's still useful. Acute hepatic failure caused by consumption of Verna. Light punishing infection, occasional common convulsion. We don't have any medication for acute hepatic failure. Lucia's gone to another causation to seek assistance. Without medication, I'm afraid he won't survive another 3 days. For the other causation, he also has a patient suffering from acute hepatic failure. Commander still cannot take any food. We're also running low on fluid used for parenteral nutrition. What should I do? We don't have any medication for... Well, looking at the list of critically wounded on the last page, Liv becomes lost in thought. There are only 11 critically wounded because most of the others cannot make it to the moment of the rescue came. The 13-year-old boy, Pulana, passed away the night before yesterday. However, his name is still on the record because Liv has been too busy to update it. Liv had heard the refugees laughing a while ago. Poisonous mushrooms will cause you to hallucinate. You see all kinds of crazy things. You should try it if you get the chance. Liv wanted them to try them just to see some crazy hallucinations because the only thing that would happen is liver failure. Ha! Does it matter if we die of hunger or die from being poisoned? Might as well go out having fun. There's the cruel reality. The possibility of excruciating death from hallucinogenic mushrooms has become seen as a peaceful death. Is that what... That's why you ate them, Pulana? It's meaningless to ask questions about the disease. Liv shakes her head and shifts attention back to the list of supplies. What a name, wood. Mole. Gas, Samson, Sawyer, Bronte, Perfume, Euler, John, Yamashina, Strong, Brian. Lives, the well-being of the refugees hinges on this, but no matter how many times she checks it, the supply shortages with Mercosur is getting better. Thompson, Toll, Bowder, Edward, Frank, Gabri, Bernard, Daniel, Kitty, White Man, Even now, the commander's life hangs in the balance, even though she only administers the minimal electric command required. There are only enough supplies for 2 more days. Ed, Jaylena, was it Edson, Emerson, Dick, Sesuna, Ao, Lena, Kizi, Kingjin. A doctor. A call from within the basement interrupts Liv thoughts. She puts down the records and hurries in the direction of the sound. I think I heard Arcane crying. Can you check up on her? Okay, thank you for telling me. She nods and quickens her pace toward Arcane and Nakayuki's room. Arcane? It's Liv. Throwing herself in Liv's arms, Arcane lets out often crying to comfort Liv. Crying as it is, Arcane's cry makes its way from the basement, stirring up the FFB from the Argo refugees. Most of the mountain disasters, everyone is nothing but rubble amidst the rising flood of despair, leaving no hope for retreat. If Babylonia's next rescue attempt is futile, what will happen to the commander and the people stranded here? Liv held up the crying Arcane and puts her hand on her aching chest. If there's anything I can do, she desperately awaits the good news, hoping that she can have the power to end everyone's suffering, but time and time again she is helpless in changing reality. Liv pats her back and stings an old song to have elevated the despair hanging in the air. I'll become the wind's gaze, countless nights and days, chasing your wake around the lake. Just stay a little longer. The song you were singing, Miss Liv? Oh, it's a song from a long time ago. Everyone would sing it at the field hospital. A song? I've heard it before. The man with the guitar squeezes through the door. He shivers at the sight of Nakayuki, deep asleep, but quickly recovers the expression and sits down beside Arcane and Liv. I remember a composer during the post-pandemic age wrote it to commemorate their friends, but the song became a hit because so many people had lost their families and friends. Is that so? The older generation sings it for comfort. How about I teach it to you, Arcane? What do you say? I want Miss Liv to teach me. Alright, then I will teach it to her first. He strums a few chords on his gun and begins to sing the first verse. Oh, I remember. That's it. Hey, what brings you here playing your guitar? Hey! Soundtrack's guitar attracts several musicians in the room next door. They crowd in one by one, looking at the people in the isolation ward with curiosity and fear. Just playing a song of the Doctor. Wanna join in? Alright, can you sing? Of course! The Doctor can sing. Sing, Miss Liv. Don't be afraid, la la la. Open your heart, let the music flow out. Alright. Playing music might not fix everything, but getting your feelings off your chest is better than holding them in. Well, sing instead of crying, la la la. Alright. But first, she's a bit unsure of herself. She takes a deep breath and begins to sing. Oh, this lake, boundless and silent. As Liv sing, the other musicians drum the rhythm with their hands, followed by Chuck's guitar. Hearing you singing, Nagayuki's eyes opens her eyes and listens to the singing as she checks that her wounds are covered. Like the wind's gaze on fallen friends. The song of mourning sings the wounds in everyone's hearts. Arcane listens to the song and wipes her tears as she sits beside Nagayuki's bed. Answered entranced by the music, the musicians don't notice the crowd of curious eyes gathering behind them. Longing for the past, they enjoy the music in silence. We are the scattered souls beside the round lake of life. If our paths could cross again, we could reunite once more. Even though we have changed, even as the sun or evening wind, revealing yet mysterious shadow must also. Believe that we will meet again. Believe this is only a momentary parting. As her voice fades, Liv finally notices the crowd standing around her as everyone erupts in applause. That sure brings back memories. Don't think anyone could sing. Well, we don't want to waste such a rare opportunity. Let's teach everyone to sing. Don't the wounded need the rest? Okay, that's a unique sign from like a Yuki. I'm okay. I wanna listen to everyone sing too. Me too. Well, we'll sing instead of cry. La la la. Inspection of City 045 and 044 complete. I didn't recover any supplies, but I found a field of mature wheat in the ruins. At noon the next day, Lucia takes a heavy bag and squeezes through the sealed door of the other constructs. You've worked hard, everyone. Get some rest in the chambers. You should get some rest as well, Lucia. They wave and walk to the room on the left side of the basement, leaving the 3 grey rooms at the door. I also asked about the medicine you request, but didn't have any in stock. What about the other areas? I checked. The other conservation areas are worse off than us. We just had another cripply wounded refugee join us. If this keeps up any longer. In the current situation, taking supplies from anyone else would make no difference to the status quo. Sorry. Lucia? She grabs Lucia's hand and shakes her head. It's okay. In this situation, you can't save everyone. Liv comforts Lucia slowly and painfully, like treading across wood laden with thorns. We can only do our best. Here. I found some of the cloth and cotton you requested earlier. Thanks. Aside from this, there's also some not so good news. The conservation area at 044 was ambushed by a horde of hedgehog creatures. I heard that from the refugees that arrived. What happened? Some hedgehog creatures learned to attack as a group and began attacking with people gathered. We stayed there for a whole day before we could get rid of all the hedgehog creatures. Parts of the conservation area were damaged, leaving only one construct to repair the CPF and evacuate the refugees gathering there. Looks like there are few of you at temporary refuge. The twins are still at City 041, which puts us in danger. If these rescue missions from Babylon keep failing, we better prepare an evacuation plan just in case. There are more people gathered in this conservation area than any other place, which poses an issue for evacuation. There are a few targets left that can be destroyed, traveling north along the west coast. We will be defenseless if we are attacked by either the twins or a horde of hedgehog creatures. If these rescue missions from Babylonia keep failing, the 3 stand silently at the door. To this hypothetical question, no one dares to open it and reveal what awaits. However, as the team stayed on the surface, helped those in the same situation, while also giving the commanders some time to heal. They believed there was still a ray of life in the dark depths. They believed the enemy could be defeated, that people would survive, and that the command would return to the team. But these expectations, struggles, and their prayers have no impact on the growing sense of despair. It's too early to give up. We need to believe in Babylon. Right as she's about to say believe, she suddenly lifts her head with a somber expression as remembering some painful memory that trails off. Lucia? It's nothing. Just that if they continue to use the same tactics for conducting rescue missions, it will only lead to more deaths. Perhaps they just need some time to adjust their tactics. Lucia suddenly looks in the nearby room where Grey Raven Commander Room's resting in a coma. But we should still be prepared. Once rescued. Wow, what's in the heavy sack? A refugee with keen eyes spots the rice brought back by Lucia and cries out in surprise. We were talking about wheat and now we're talking about rice. I found this rice in some ruins. We're gonna make porridge tonight. Woohoo! Quinea, get your point. Part of this sack of rice is not to feed all 100 of us. He's trying to get the attention of those around him, all who stand up in surprise. That's great. Looks like we're getting porridge tonight. Finally, some good news. Want me to help make it? There should be an extra stove and a storage up top. Ours is out gas. We just gotta bring it down here. Okay, I'll go get it. I always to collect some purified rainwater. It's been raining non-stop the past few days, so there should be more than enough water. Then the rest of us will sit here and rub the rice ears off with our hands to remove the husks. Huh? No rice? You can tell just by the sack. Besides, Kozak's had to fight to bring it. Are you too lazy to prepare it? You're the boss. We will do as you say. But looking Queenia, you need to listen to the leader. Shut up. What you do is gossip. Everyone is engaged in joyous conversation as everyone lines up to take strands of rice and begins the husking them to every corner of the base. Shortly after the water, the purifying, the cooking implements are ready. Everyone puts the husked rice into the water for it to be filtered and set to boil over the fire. Only an old man is left holding rice. He stands up weakly and attempts to address the crowd, but his feeble voice fails to gain anyone's attention. Mr. Kali? What's wrong? Since being diagnosed with cancer, he has refused to eat. Can I hold on to this? Of course, it's better for everyone to eat. No, eat, just save. He shouts with all his strength, but only infinitely syllables come out of his lips. He's already had malnutrition before he refused to eat. He was more like a candle in the wind, as he would go out any moment. Of course. These days, the old man gives his own food, or the food he gets to others. This way, his only request, they've had no reason to refuse. She doesn't understand why, but seeing him struggle to speak, she refrains from asking any more questions. She just helps him sit next to the bed next to his wife. Thank you, young lady. My legs aren't what they used to be. I told him not to stand, but he's stubborn as a mule. The only couple sits together holding their rice and looking happily at the crowd gathered around the large pot. The embers in their eyes, which were extinguished by despair and rain, ignited once more. People danced among the steam, dispelling the depression over the past few days. The sobbing that echoed throughout the basement had stopped. The bedridden people slowly opened their eyes to catch rays of light in their dim vision. In this dusk, everyone gathers together to watch the small portable stove and a large cooking pot as they waft the delicious smell of rice porridge. If hope were to manifest itself, this would surely be the embodiment of it. Liv notices that the woman who'd been guarding her husband stands up from her side, joins the crowd, and looks fallen into the flame of the gas stove. Miss Jin? Hi. She tries to squeeze out an appliance smile but fails. Lindsay just woke up. She wanted to try some porridge and told me to join the others, but right after that she bites her lid and tears begin to trickle onto the floor. This, like you said, we'll make it for the night. Her sob becomes louder and louder, and people around her gradually quiet down as they're brought back to the cold reality. Some people can't endure this experience and others can't endure the next. Some people say that the hospital walls have heard more repentance and prayer than churches. But no matter how hard one prays in front of light that is lost, the outcome won't change. Why did she want to sacrifice herself to protect me? I might as well join her. The approaches Jin holds her trembling hands, but she knows that even if she manages to comfort Jin, the situation won't change for the crowd. Faced with parting life, words of comfort are too shallow. When survivors laugh around the campfire, they can't forget the shadows behind them. Light and shadow go in hand. Someone dies, means someone else will be saved. A person, especially a doctor, cannot calmly face the parting between life and death, means they will drown in their own regret one day. But Liv knows that she cannot learn how to face this situation with reason alone. Once upon a time, an otherwise outgoing professor said this with a rare sigh. Optimism? Calmness, indifference to life and death, these all help persuade ourselves. But if we can't force others to maintain a positive outlook. Don't deprive others of the right to be sad or discourage them to grieve, because persuasion is always more useful than force. Especially you. I know you can't learn how to remain motionless when treating lives that cannot be saved. That's why I'm telling you this. I hope you can allow yourself to be sad and use your regret as motivation to save those that can. This is also a kind of comfort for those who cannot be comforted. Persuasion is always more useful than force. But how can I? When she looks up, Liv sees Chuck in his gloves and says she's something to Liv. Should we sing instead of crying? He nods and closes his eyes, begins to strum his guitar. Shortly after, the other musicians follow his lead and join in. In the crowd, those who have learned the song before begin to sing along with the music. Life is like a round lake, along the path we take, running with the birds, playing in the dirt. I walk on and on. But where have you gone? Hearing everyone sing, Liv faintly smiles and joins them. I'll become the wind's gaze, countless nights and days, chasing your wake around the lake. Just stay a little longer, don't walk away so somber. It's a nice song. Only the commandants wait to hear it. We'll just have Liv sing it again when the commandant wakes up. Okay, the time's come. We all can sing together. Classic Lee. I'll pass. I think the commander wants to hear you sing. Classic Lee. The music and hot porridge form the hearts of the despotted crowd as they join the chorus and clap along. They find solace in the melancholic lyrics rather than rely on false hope. They use the song to unlock their grievances and shed tears, leaving the faint echoes of their cries. See what I say? My music might not fix anything, but getting your feelings off your chest is better than holding them in. That's all. Listening to the song, the old man's lips begin to tremble and his eyes brim with tears. What's wrong? He's fine. An older man like him, he's probably just thinking about the past. As people get older, some things become more and more clear, regardless of song or sacrifice. She shivers and lights a precious rolled cigarette as her eyes sink into memories. During the Golden Age, livestock in the farmland were run by machines. After the meltdown, the Seropod reactor, food sources were cut off. For such a long time, it was difficult for people to take up farming and raising livestock, but some people managed to do it. Not many people were able to, while also finally corrupted. People talked about taking seeds back to find safe places to plant crops. But once there weren't any corrupted, people desperate for food gave the seeds all our hard work. She raises her hardened gaze, looks around at the refugee sitting in the basement. Just like the great winter famine in the historical records, there was no stable yield of food for a long time. People could only take what they could get their hands on. Without livestock or produce, restored to eating birds and mice. People have been scavenging areas with hordes of corrupted, but few returned. So people began to breed something that could raise quickly and that others hated. She takes out half remaining rolled cigarette and draws something about forcing in length with her hands. She doesn't say what it was, but everyone understands what she meant. But there wasn't much left to feed those pesky insects, so they couldn't raise enough to be made into protein blocks like the movies in the Golden Age. Normally people wouldn't have touched them, but worse came to worse, even those were taken. If this went unchecked, we would have filled our stomachs with everything, and there wouldn't be anything left. So the rules were made and spread through the word of mouth. Seeds must be left behind, offspring and fish eggs not to be eaten. Plant roots must remain in the soil, pregnant animals in the food not to be disturbed unless there's emergency. As people were able to buy those rules, we noticed some improvement, and this could be seen in the mountains of forests and sinews and sprouting in areas that were harvested. It will help us get through our darkest time. The old folks who lived through that era still remember it. The disaster did spare us. If only it could got any worse every day. Sometimes people break the rules when they get the longer take the hunger. Once the rules are broken, those that suffer have no choice but to do the same. That's when we met Cheese. Didn't know his real name, but that's what he was eating when we saw him. Cheese was so rare at the time. That's what we decided to call him. She takes a deep drag of a cigarette and ash rolls down her fingers. She doesn't seem to mind. She just sighs the big cloud of smoke. Nothing I'm proud of. We thought he was well off seeing him eat cheese next to a field he lived by. The old geezer stuck into his field to steal food for us to eat, but didn't leave him any seeds. Cheese and his wife barely made it through the winter. The baby in her belly didn't make it. First time we heard this song was when he was kneeling in his empty field, holding his wife, who had faded from crying as he sang to her. We didn't have the heart to go up and confess what we had done. We sent him some pliers, but they moved away shortly after. Since then, we've had the habit of leaving seeds for everything we eat. Even though no one cares about this rule, we cannot break it ourselves. Even though the conservation areas have already been built, there's still room to raise crops. Life's not there. But as you all have seen, this stuff won't last very many days if anything bad happens. She shakes her hand and starts out her cigarette. Well, nothing will be rambling of these trifles of the past. The forest should be ready now. Let's dig in. Yay! Refugees who already become too preoccupied with their thoughts of the long-awaited porridge to stir a story suddenly spring to life. Surprised by excitement, the construction of resting in the nearby room walked out. Let's start, said everyone. Sure. Everyone forms the line, no need to push and shove. Got it. Everyone grabs a spoon and lines up, holding their own tableware containers enthusiastically, paying extra attention to that they receive their fair share. Jin holds the porridge carefully as Luce constructs Soldier and Liv and returns to Lindsay's bed. Old Carly, having not eaten for 3 days, takes a bite out of his wife's porridge under her persuasion. Stanley, Shrek, Fantina, everyone except for the wound who is still ungracious gets a bowl of warm porridge. The heat from the bowl in their hands warms their spirits as people sit down and enjoy this rare delicacy. While the crowd is distracted by their meal, Lucia calls Liv aside in a low voice. Yes? Come with me. The Great Evacuation. So go to 45. In the dark room, Vanessa is stirring her porridge in a cup with a crystal coffee spoon. Camilla's father is lying on the bed next to her, still unconscious. What's wrong? Surprised I'm eating porridge from a cup. I know it's not exactly my style, but I like to make the best of things when a situation's out of my control. I'm sure you've realized by now, Babylonia's cut off aid. What? They've had obviously been too busy taking everyone to realize this fact. Since the last rescue operation failed, if you ask them about their next operation or changing tactics, they always give a vague response. You're also not providing regular contact. Whenever I contact them, they just give the same response. Lucia has also got the same response too. It's nothing too unusual, they just postpone the support operations in this area for the time being. They've done this in the past, it's just the first time I've experienced it. I guess your indifference means you've all been mentally prepared for this? Looks like we're on our own for now. Yeah, it's unrealistic to expect to be rescued in these circumstances. I'll do the same if I were in charge. It's only the logical solution. Aside from that, there's some good news and bad news. Good news is, if the Babylonians cut off support, they haven't blocked my access to the GPS intel. The bad news is, based on the GPS intel, the undead twins have entered City 042. What are you guys gonna do? Our location is dangerous. I found numbers who will suffer from losses in case we run into any hostile encounters. I want to disperse the 164 people gathered into several teams, which is more decisive to action.
We've had some more refugees join over the past few days. We now have 172 people and a dog. That doesn't include us and the commandant. We are already at 172 people. Decentralization is definitely conductive in dealing with emergencies, but it will take more time to retreat. We better get ready immediately. On the way, we also need to deal with 3 problems: high punishing concentration, lack of food and energy, and hedge creature attacks. Protective gear can protect ourselves against the punishing concentration. We don't have enough for everyone, but we can move them in waves. The second problem is difficult to solve. All we can do is move slowly. As for the third problem, we just have to defend it with everyone. Where can we move everyone? To safe zones adjacent to City 43, Cities 46, 44, and 45. We just come from 45, the conversation is already full after taking refugees from 44. Personnel from 46 are evacuating after the CPU was damaged, so it's been effective for some time. The CPS has been repaired, but it's quite the distance from here. Not to mention, the people living there aren't exactly accepting of outsiders. That's an understatement. It will lead to an inaccurate danger assessment. There are a group of armed scavengers there that will attack and rob outsiders. City 44 is completely empty, but the CPS still hasn't been repaired. Hedge creatures swarm the perimeter, so they may converge into red tide at any moment. Looks like there isn't any ideal location. Are you gonna find a place for them to live and work in peace? It's the next step to investigate whether the soil is suitable for agriculture. She gruffly eats a spoonful of porridge and laughs sardonically. Just find a refuge for them to hold out for the time being. Wait for the twins to leave City 43 and return and repair the damaged buildings. World will be used up, no matter how big it is, as long as they keep treading toward the unknown. Is Vod most conscious right now? I'm sure the commander would resort to the similar guerrilla tactics. You think you know his Vod? Vanessa sets down a spoon and just laughs coldly at Lee. Let's temporarily divide the crowd into 3 groups for evacuation. Those who can move freely will wear protective gear and follow the safety route. We'll plan to bypass potential battle zones where the red tide may converge and proceed to City 44. 2 constructs will act as guards. While en route, the refugees should refrain from removing their protective gear, or they will return once safe living conditions are confirmed in City 44. Understood. We have some of the wounded take supplies to City 45. While I searched the area, I found a warehouse with a spore filtering device. The conditions are poor, but people can survive there with some simple protection. For the 3rd team, we'll take the commandant, Vanessa, Benita, and the rest of the wounded to City 46. Regardless of how hostile they are to outsiders, they cannot do much against constructs. That was quick. I expect nothing less from the chief. This may solve the problems caused by the threat of insufficient materials and the twins, but it doesn't cover everything, don't you know? Constructs need to protect their refugees from the hedge creatures while in transit. Some of the wounded will need to be transported out. Humans will need protective gear, but we don't have enough for each person. That means the group going to City 46 will be unprotected. Correct. But there's one more thing. We can't avoid casualties along the way. I hope I've seen your fair share of hardship and cruelty, Grey Raven. Don't disrupt the team with the illusion of saving everyone. What do you mean? Seems like you guys have been spending too much time trying to rescue people out there. We don't know how many people will actually be able to keep up. I'm sure Liv can enlighten you. We can't take all the wounded at once. They also can't move quickly in the state they're in, and our vehicles don't have the capacity for everyone. Are you planning to leave behind people who run out of time? Exactly, but only if time is of the essence. I don't want people's lives to be sacrificed in vain, but I don't want to risk the success of the mission. And I don't want this to be a point of contention between us. Anything that you're not happy about, or you're still expecting not to regain consciousness, come up with some big brain solution that won't require everyone to be sacrificed. If not, I will be the active commander here. There's only one way we can save the most lives. If worst comes to worst, who do you think is more likely to encounter danger? Me and Benita? Those refugees who have the strength to run? Or that comatose commander of yours? Forget it. After all, the populated by soldiers will just shout, "I'll protect everyone," then rush in and die. No point in asking you. Let's plan our next step. I still think it's necessary to evacuate the critically injured to C-45 and 46 first. You're right. If we have time, they should go first. If the healthy refugees leave first, they may be left here for good. Looks like you've become well acquainted with the inferiority of humans. This doesn't make them inferior. Everyone just wants to live, so we need to plan. Whatever you say, the twins haven't made it to City 43 yet, but I've detected a large horde of Hedgehog crews from the north, 130 clicks. They're heading right for us. ETA 8 hours. How many? Roughly over 100. Can we hold them off? No, Liv. If they are already grouped up, they are more than 100. I saw something similar in C-44. It's bound to be beyond our detection area. There may be 10 or even 100 times more than that. If they don't find out we were hiding, we won't be able to defend against such a large horde. And this is nearest to herself and needs the progenitor carbs, which had gone cold. Looks like we won't hold until morning, so we should evacuate immediately. Understood. But I hope we proceed according to the plan. Evacuate the wounded first, the other construct soldiers, we escort those who can walk in orderly manner, so that we can receive help from other stranded elite teams as soon as possible. Some of the wounded can leave on the transport vehicles. After all, your commander only needs one seat. But I advise you to give up on the latter. Strikehawk and Cerberus are in the same situation as us. There will be more survivors in the base with doctors. The team won't be able to transfer the influx of wounded. If none of the wounded had survived, this would be an issue. Please don't say something like that. As I said, there are going to be sacrifices along the way. Don't expect the hedgehog creatures to wait for you to take your time evacuating everyone, do you? I will need to accept such a dire consequence that I have no choice but to accept the reality that they cannot change the status quo. How many vehicles are left? Including the vehicles recovered over the past few days from destroyed position areas, we have 3 left. Hurry up and get your commander into protective gear. Leaving the room with Vanessa and the commander located to begin the preparation, they met with an unexpected scene outside. People have already packed their scarce bags of luggage. As Grey Raven exited the room, the refugees looked at them coldly. Where's everyone going? We're going to the Forsaken space. There's no way you can make it there on foot. So I'm going to borrow your rescue vehicles. Why are you leaving all of a sudden? I know you won't tell us the truth, seeing you all sneak around like that. I only took the advantage of the noise outside to eavesdrop on your conversation. What did you hear? Avenir stopped sending aid and heard that construct say it. He points to the construct in the corner. We were going just going over the possible scenarios to the others. I didn't think anyone had the nerve to eavesdrop on us. Doesn't matter. I knew it was only a matter of time. There have been a numerous incidents in the neighborhood conversation area, and since Babylon has hung us out to dry and those damn twins are wandering around 41 again, we don't want to stay here and await death. The 3 vehicles are up and running. We've got the protective gear, boss. Let's go. Please don't take the fields. We need them to evacuate the critically wounded. What are we supposed to do then? Not like we can make it there on foot. Why wouldn't you be better off with the wounded when we're gone? We have more room. You'll be quiet. Seems like they don't know about the hedgehog creatures and the twins headed right for us. 3 vehicles cannot hold 152 people. How are you gonna deal with corrupted hedge crews if you get attacked? Outnumber them? Ground Wolves silent for a moment before whispering amongst each other. That's why we need to leave before they swarm us. Scavengers like us have our own ways of operating. Leave the rest to us. Please don't. Everything we've done is to ensure as many people can survive as possible. They've hesitated for seconds, but decides it's best to inform everyone of the current situation of avert confusion. Refugees had always believed they had the right to know what was happening. A time like this requires everyone to work together to solve the problem. What would happen if they made a decision without knowing the danger? They can never bear the thought of it. Please listen. I just detected a horde of hetero creatures approaching from the north. They'll be here in 8 hours. Also, the twins already left City 41 and have made it to City 42. We need to evacuate the wounded immediately. If you take the vehicles, we won't be able to evacuate the wounded on foot. If the hetero creatures break through our defenses, they'll enter the basement and kill the wounded. And here it is, the whole basement becomes speechless. The middle-aged leader looks around the crowd in silence. He contemplates for a few seconds and turns to face Liv. We'll take your word for it, considering you've taken care of us and the wounded all this time. Saying this, he pauses for several more seconds. After hearing no objection, he continues to speak. Since you're willing to be so honest, I'll make concessions to the constructs and the wounded. The crowd erupts in an outcry, led by a shrill voice of several refugees. Leave the wounded here. Not like they will survive much longer if we take them away. I don't want to die here. There's no way I can walk all the way there. Refugee leader remains silent among the crowd's protests until several others strong-arm their way in front of them. Boss, what's wrong? You're not wounded. You've just been hungry a few days. Now you can't walk. No way. Besides, she said those monsters being hanged out. How can we want punches boxing? If they don't come, what about those wandering outside? We are armed and there's a lot of us. We can handle ourselves as long as there aren't too many. He's right, Doctor. We want to take the vehicles because our people are too exhausted to work. Given the emergency, we should give priority to the wounded that can't walk, but we aren't just going to drive away carelessly. If someone falls along the way, they will slow the rest of us down. We'll be sitting ducks if we get attacked. I understand. At least you're willing to leave any vehicles? How about this? He raises his voice over the crowd's discussion. We'll take the smallest vehicle to carry our luggage for the people to rest. When needed, the other two rescuers there are more suitable for transporting the wounded. That way, we can guarantee our safety to a certain extent while also not disregarding the lives of others. The crowd gradually falls silent, but concerns still remain. But those heterocrits will be here in 8 hours. There's no way we can outrun them on foot. If we take all 3 vehicles, there isn't enough space for everyone. You think we will be able to one the lucky ones to get a ride? What should we do, boss? Calm down. We need to come up with a plan. Where were you planning on taking us and the wounded? Given the current situation, it will be best for the healthy refugees to go to C-44. There are still issues with CPF and the punishing concentration is high, but there won't be any issues along the planned route if everyone wears protective gear. Once 43 is safe, you can come back. Seems reasonable. Is the nearest city of the direct road and minimal corruption running around there? He deliberately raises his voice as speaking to the crowd behind him. But if everyone wears protective gear, there won't be enough for the wounded. There's also a warehouse of 45 with a small filtration device. I'm not sure it's strong enough to guarantee safety, but anyone with normal level protective gear should be just fine there. Correct. That's where we'll take some of the wounded. We'll take the rest of the wounded to the conservation area in City 46. They should still have enough room to take us in. City 46? Those are crazy bastards as dangerous as corrupt. But you're right, there's not much they can do against constructs. Then it's settled. She slowly walks down the room, and it is as she has been listening the whole time. Together with her is Baminita, who now resembles an old doll. We should hurry. Wait, we're not finished yet. Going there on foot is going to take a while. As close as 44 is, we might not be able to cross 43's borders in 8 hours. I expect that doctors generally wants us to leave the vehicles here to save the wounded, but I'm not so sure about you. You're standing in as a temporary commander here, right? I don't know their commander is normally like, but I have an idea based on the others like Bravery, but you, he forces a sneer. People like you put human lives on one side of the scale and your own personal interest on the other. You've only been stuck here together for a month, but I know your type. If you evacuate with the founded, who's to say you abandon them and guarantee your own safety? I'm just trying to save the most lives. Given the current situation, we don't have enough time and materials to save everyone. Sacrifice will have to be made. What about that wounded dead weight? Human lives aren't equal. If you had to choose between a cracked jewel or some pebble in the muddy ditch, which would you choose? Expect it from one of Dumbledore's officers, you bastards, putting a price on their heads just like they did during the Great Evacuation. Since they are fight about to break out, Bo, teamed with Science, Liv rushed forward and say something, but she's stopped by Lee before she could do anything. Quiet down, Lawson. This Great Evacuation is in our hands now. 3 cars outside are ours. If you want 2 rescue vehicles, you have to listen to us. Try and take them by violence, 1 shot from your gun here, and they will be gone. You sure you want that? Well then, what is it? Let our people and the wounded retreat first, and you and the other constructs stay here to stop the incoming attack. In any case, 2 cars aren't enough for everyone. They'll take the wounded and they'll come back for us. We won't have made it far at this point. You want them to come back? That's right. I'm sure the doctor and her team will be able to escort the wounded and return safely. Once everyone has retreated safely, you and an unconscious commander of yours can leave. I can have the other constructs escort you and leave together. I don't trust you. You just call them off whenever you get a chance. As long as we are all wounded, we'll be tied together before we make it out of the City 43. As opposed to me ordering them to pick up first when you hand over the vehicles. We have our eyes on you. We'll leave only when all the wounded have been evacuated first. Even if Gregory even chooses to listen to you, I can leave with my puppet any time I want. But that would be death sentence going out there on foot, just the 2 of you. You don't want to give all that cracked jewel of yours, do you? Fine, I'll take up the rear. Quit wasting time and get out of here. Vanessa? Are you sure about that? Get back here ASP, otherwise it's gonna be our funerals. One more thing. You, what's your name? She points to the construct beside her and beckons. My name's Sandra, Commander Vanessa. Sandra. Go be one of their drivers. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of surprises along the way, given how many corrupted and hetero creatures are coming this way. Understood. Let's get going, Liv. I'll leave the evacuation plan up to you. We're more clear on the situation with the wounded. You got it. We evacuate the critical wounded and some of the less severely wounded first. It's going to be difficult to take that many people at once given how big the stretches are. Liv opens a medical log and quickly examines the list of wounded. The log hasn't been updated recently, but the current situation is clear, printed in Liv's mind. The 8 quickly wounded Nagayuki, Kanata, and Lidzi need to stay behind for the time being. The first 2 need Vanessa to maintain stable minds, while Lindsay's wounds can't withstand the crowd and bumpy vehicles. She needs to be carried separately on a stretcher with stabilizers once all the other construction shoulders have gathered. And sorry about it. The one the commander used? Well, the commander doesn't need it now. As for Mr. Carly, I don't know if he will agree to go. Old man who wasn't eaten after being diagnosed with cancer? Let me ask him. Even if he doesn't agree to go, we will still need space for 4 more people. These people alone will take up 2 cars, or more. They can take the little girl with them. They can make do in a crowded vehicle if we get there fast enough. Let's make some supports between stretches so we can put them close together without being cramped. Good idea. But there's still still only enough room for 4 stretches. We only can fit a few more sitting down. I'll leave it to you then, Lee. He nods and makes his way to the warehouse. As for the second vehicle, she thumbs through the records of the terminal and makes a new list. They don't need stretchers, but even then, They need to be separated due to their wounds. If some people lie under the seats or sit on legs on those who aren't injured, we can't squeeze them in. Not to mention our vehicles haven't been modified, so they can't be overloaded, right? Exactly. How many more people do we need to take? We still have 47 wounded, counting the new arrivals of the past few days, this makes 62 people. But the second car can only carry 17 with 4 people in the first car. That means that we can only take 20 people on a single trip. That's fine. So there's some hope we can make another trip. But there are still several other critical injured and our commander that need to go on the next trip. That means there's no time for hesitation. We need to make a third trip. Yeah, let's call everyone. Okay. Nisha walks to the basement. After a short time, some wounded refugees limp out following her. Since Fantina's name's on the first list, she steps out of the crowd and greets Liv with a smile. You could live, but I want to give up my spot. She looks at the crowd and rubs her belly. It's too crowded for me, and I haven't decided if I want to bring my child into this crew out. I need some time to think. After you leave, the wounded heroes who need to look after. My medical knowledge obviously doesn't compare to yours, but I can still help. You can take the child aboard with me instead. The wound on his back is still serious, and he needs it. Okay. Oh, and Shrek, we'll have to speak with you. He agrees, Liv, pretending to be relaxed. Let me go with you. I will sit on the roof so I don't take up any space. Besides, if any of the wounded sit up there, they're most likely to fall down, right? Are you sure? It's dangerous up there. Don't worry, I'll hold on tight. You said you want to evacuate to a warehouse in 45? But is there a doctor to take care of them? Are you going to stay with them? No, that's what I've been worried about. So someone should be there to look after them, right? I'm no doctor, but I've learned a thing or two about first aid recently. Recent? Got that right. A friend of mine made me realize how important it is. If you don't trust me, I can have the Forsaken and send a doctor over. That way I can continue on my way and deliver the serum. They can't possibly refuse, right? Okay, thank you. Good idea. We should also try to get support from Watanabe. If only the commander was still conscious. We could use the commander to pull some strings. Having finished assembling the stretchers, Lee appears behind the three of them with a frowning face. I know you're worried about, but I'm willing to cut off communication. Who knows, maybe we end up joining the Forsaken. She looks at the dim skies, suddenly getting lost in the mountain. That would be ironic. I understand why they made this decision. I don't think it was out of greed or malice, but we all know right now. I'm used to that by now. You guys talk things over. Want me to get the wounded? Then the gravity of their words, he waves and quickly runs back to the basement. If Carly said he's not gone with the others. Really? I understand. Over 10 minutes later, thanks to everyone's efforts, the first group is already in position. People were crowded together, but not so crowded, but the wounded are crushed. Everyone's ready, let's go. I'll deal with the hetero creatures along the way. Liv, take care of the wounded. Lee and Sandra and other constructors take care of the driver. Lee nods, throws his eyes anxiously. He starts the engine, causing the siren in the rescue vehicle and alarm from the dashboard speakers to blare. Alert. Vehicle overloaded. Please drive safely in accordance with the law. The anxiety leads in the brown creases over the quickly unscrews the cover of the speaker and adaptively cuts the alarm circuit, silencing the noise. Let's get going. Lucia, the Bonnie Hedgehog is by. Coming over. Vehicles are overloaded, we can't move fast enough to get rid of them. Try my best to clear the nearest bar as fast as you can. For safety considerations, we'll stop the vehicles for defense if we run into enemies along the way. Vehicles are already right, most of the wounded can't move. I understand, so we have to make it quick. Oh, damn. finishes up. Oh, and this guy soon takes a beating. Get out. Ooh. Destroy this Hatros Sapiens quick. Buggers. We can limit all the enemies ahead, but there's still some behind us. Keep moving, I'll handle them. Get hit me, you little buggers. Don't die. Get out of here. Twits. That was dumb. It is so annoying. It's over. You guys are in there. Some minor injuries, I'll handle it. Okay, I'm moving towards you.
これが最後の戦いだといいですね。指揮官。
City 45, West Warehouse, 3:41 a.m. Leaving the conservation area in 43, they've crossed past several collapsed billboards and buildings attacked by the corrupted and hedgehog creatures until finally arrived at their destination in City 45, 5.5 hours later. One of Tommy's situations doing good either, but at least they promised to send a doctor, even after taking some refugees if the district takes a turn for worse. Thanks for them to lose your terminal. Shrek terminates the call and hands back the terminal back to Lee. You said you were going to call for a second to send someone over, but you obviously didn't have a way of reaching them. I did, just now, didn't I? Once at least terminal matters is stating the obvious. People need to rely on each other to survive in this world, so we can't just think about what we have at a time like this, even more so. Gestures to Lee, who gives him a dull look. What, any more parachutes? I want 100 of them. Just be more prepared next time before making promises. Considering how many accidents have had recently, you would have done if you couldn't reach them. Nonsense. Just you guys. It's fine, Lee. Doesn't matter whose terminal he uses as long as everyone works out. How are things with you, Liv? I've checked everyone's vitals and rebandaged everyone's wounds. They are opened up from all the bumps on the way. Sorry for writing your book, Shrek. She returns the book titled Comfort of the Soul, but back to Shrek now full of medical notes. It's okay. Books are used for recording information. I've gotten what I need from it anyway. Mr. Arcane, I know I promised to make an identical rabbit doll for you, but it's okay, Miss Liv, I understand. I only had time to make you a small one on the way here. If I return to 3's conversation, I'll make another one for you, okay? Really? Thanks. Alright, let's go back and get the other avoided. You're not gonna tell us how you are doing, huh? You mean my leg? I can manage. That's not with all. What's with all the vital fluid? I've already rebadged it. I'm good to go. If you can't take any more, let me know. I'll carry you. Okay, thank you, Lucia. Oh, when is the Forsaken Doctor going to be here? A day or so. We're not exactly close. If that's the case, we have to care for the wounded until then. I need to go back and escort the rest of the wounded. Okay, I'll take it from here. Should get going. The great evacuation. And we've got... Well, there's certainly still a lot more to go. Well then, I'm actually going to end the stream here for today. Next time? Well, next time I'm actually gonna do this again tomorrow. Will be the next time. Anyway, see you all folks next time. Take care.